Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to another Camlann listen along stream. I'm just going to take us over to the chat screen. Hello. We're having a quiet one tonight. It's just the three of us. Just the three of us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. It is episode 7 time for Camlann. I'm just going to turn the music off so it doesn't go to the bit of voice reel stuff that I had to send to Nicole earlier, which involves a lot of screaming. Nobody needs that.
Oh, is that my screaming?
I think it's both of you screaming. I think it's the scene from episode 4, like just as the dogs are. So you're both responding to something. You're not screaming at each other.
I'm delighted. She's gonna have me screaming on her voice reel. Fantastic.
I think everyone should. I think it's like, you know, it's like the sort of ident at the beginning. You just have
It's just Robin Holdaway screaming.
Yeah, it's like the MGM. It's like
well,
the MGM lion.
You've had plenty of it.
You're gonna become the new Wilhelm.
Yeah.
It's just like...
Oh, how very diverse of you. Used for anyone of any gender.
Hello. So yes, okay. What are we talking about? We're doing a stream, right? Yes.
We're doing episode 7.
We're here to listen to episode 7 and talk about episode 7. Thank you, everyone in chat, for coming along. A few people have mentioned the eclipse. I hope you managed to catch it. It is currently cloudy in Glasgow. Whenever anything cool happens in the sky, cloudy. Just anything. International Space Station's coming over, cloudy. Comets, cloudy. Like, just terrible place to see cosmic phenomena. But I'm not angry about it or bitter about it at all. I'm perfectly well adjusted.
I really, really, really profoundly sympathize, Amber, and I love you so much. And I understand that, like, your wife is from Glasgow and that's really important to her. But also, did you not anticipate this when you moved to Glasgow? Like, did you really think moving to Glasgow, of all cities in the world, that it would be a place with frequently clear skies?
But it usually is clear. Like, we have clear skies most of the time. Like, and take an average of days. Clear skies. It's just when anything cool's happening up there, they're like, nah, you can't see that. Nah, got to pay extra for that. Okay, we should introduce ourselves, shouldn't we? Ella, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Ella Watts. My pronouns are she, her. I am the writer and director of Camlann. I do other shit, but that's the stuff that's relevant to today's stream. I wrote and directed this. This is my fault. Ha ha!
God, whenever there's only 3 of us, this gets funky quickly.
It does, doesn't it? Like, it feels less accountable somehow. Also, we've done
less
6 of these.
Pressure.
Like,
yeah, I feel like less like I need to behave. Like, Nicole and Harrod are so great, but I feel like when Nicole's here, I feel like I have to behave because she's so professional that I'm just like, I should like be professional as well. Whereas like when it's just us, we're just a bunch of like little queer gremlins. And it's just like, yeah.
Speaking of, Robin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Speaking of queer gremlins, hi, I'm Robin Holdway, professional gremlin. No, I'm an actor and a voice actor, and I play Perry in this lovely series that Ella has created and shared with us all. Do I need to introduce anything else? No, I just saw in the chat, though, somebody said thank you for buying you're always welcome, my darling. Please, it's why I make it so that people can gain education and joy and see cool stuff like this.
Yeah, can we get a moment to appreciate Robin's binder, because it is incredible. Like,
It's so magical.
It is.
It's from Shapeshifters, and yes, there might be a tie-in to this episode. Who knows? I'm not always going to tie my underwear into various bits of work, but for today, for you.
Incidentally,
watchers.
I am, but you're not getting to see that.
Yes, Amber's always wearing Camlann coded pants.
Yes,
at
I've
all
just
points.
got some underwear that I've stitched Camlann into the
Alright,
into
this
the, into the
isn't
butt.
an OnlyFans stream. We're gonna move away from
Shame.
incentivizing people to think about our underwear. Amber, I think you should introduce yourself.
Oh, hi. Yes, sorry. Hello, I'm Amber. I live here. This is my name's Amber. My pronouns are they them. I am the sound designer and composer and streamer, I guess, resident streamer of this show. And also, I'm doing all the tech stuff today, so I apologize if I'm quiet and looking at my screen very intently. It's because something has most likely gone wrong. But yeah, so we're going to listen to episode 7, and then we're going to talk about it. Robin and Ella, do you have anything you would like to say about this episode before we jump in? And it's definitely not an excuse for me to start setting everything up for the next screen.
I was really excited about this episode. This was a fun one, Robin, actually, because we're going to go straight into your opening monologue. And so obviously there's this kind of thing where, we set up this premise that Di does each opening monologue, and every episode opens with the sound of the fire. And that was really important to me thematically, as well as opening with a folk song in Welsh, because I wanted the Welsh language to be really prominent in the show and to situate the show within the Welsh language, because it is largely inspired by Welsh stories. And so it was really fun kind of then being like, okay, well, now we've set up the trope, we have to subvert it. So the first time we do that is obviously with Odysseus, and I always had this really strong idea of going from the fire to the ocean and going from Welsh to Greek, and having that being ideally quite a jarring moment of oh, we're somewhere else now, but then also coming back and being okay, but now we're going to be back to normal, and then still not hearing Di or Di's voice. The issue with this, however, is that Robin does not speak Welsh, and I picked maybe the most complicated Welsh folk song in the entire series for this opener. So Tobias and Robin had to workshop this for most of the recording week. So how was that for you, Robin?
I like singing. I really enjoy it, and I was very excited when I was like, "You're going to sing," and then I saw what I was singing, and I listened to it. And the folk. So Ella put together some of these folk songs, and we got to listen to it. It's beautiful. And then this one came in, and it's a very old school recording style of it, and it's so quick. And in the end, we had to cut it down to what I was able to correctly pronounce and correctly do, because what we'd rather, I think, have a shorter amount of well pronounced sounding good stuff than me butchering my way through a gorgeous song. So yeah, it was and I also love folk songs, but the only ones I knew were English, so it's been lovely to hear some Welsh ones. And also the monologue that you hear me say at the beginning has just these gorgeous words in it. And thank you to everyone who helped with the pronunciation, because I really struggle. A big part of the way I learn lines is by learning meaning. And when I'm speaking in other languages, and regardless, I really struggle with it and getting the pronunciation right. So that's not just Tobias I have to thank, but also Ellie, your friend.
Maeve Groom, who helped us with the Gaeilge. Really big shout out to Angharad Tobias and Maeve for all of their help with these different words. Again, I wrote the monologue and chose the opening song before we did the casting, and did not even for a second think about how that might be difficult for someone who was not a fluent Welsh or Gaelic speaker to say.
I know I said before, this was a massive learning curve for me, because I very much saw it and said, I can pronounce those letters in that frame of reference. And I did not for a moment realize how different Welsh phonetics was. I struggle with English phonetics, let alone Welsh. So when this came up, basically I did day one and went, oh no, I have not prepped the things I needed to prep. I've done all the character stuff, done all that lovely stuff. I went, oh no. So I basically sat down with Tobias, as he said, and throughout the week, and Cara to some degree, but also part of the way the scenes are put together, Tobias was really helpful. And we went through my whole script and we made sure I had those words in as much as I could. And I have said, when we get season 2, which we will, because we're all saying that, yes, I think I might pick up a certain bird app or perhaps a different app with Welsh in it, because it's delightful. And yes, it is certainly a challenge, though.
It's a beautiful language, but like you say, it is a different branch of the Indo-European language tree. It's a very different branch. It's not Germanic, it's not Romance. It doesn't really have like many cognates with English at all. And as you say, like lots of people don't realize that just because Welsh is written in the Roman alphabet doesn't mean that it has the same phonemes, the same sounds. And that's where a lot of the like racist jokes that you get about the Welsh language come from, where people will be like, oh, they can't even spell, and that kind of like bullshit. But it comes from the fact that people don't understand that like 2 L's in Welsh does not mean the sound that it means in English.
No, it doesn't even exist in English. That like Llywelyn, I would say, it's that Ollanda. No, there we go. Fantastic. Thank you for that. So yeah, it doesn't exist. So we had there are noises. I love you, and I love you so much. There are noises. I had to learn to make noises, which thankfully, as a voice actor, is sort of part of my job, is learning how to make noises. Like there's which is fine in Mandarin and also in Scottish, but we don't normally find English speakers doing it. So yeah, it has its own unique vibe and challenges. Anyway, we're probably waffling.
Shall we?
Hopefully we filled enough time for Amber. Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. I mean, like the long and short of it is, I think that Robin did a great job in this, and as we discussed, on set and while recording, like I think a fun thing about it is it's a bit of synergy with Perry as a character, which is that like. It was always important to me to have at least one of the main characters be English, because I am English and I don't speak Welsh fluently, and like my pronunciation, like the sounds that I make in my voice are not fluent Welsh. Babe, can you hear that buzzing sound?
Beeping?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Is it me sent? Because I just sent something on my phone that I just sent to our WhatsApp group the link to the Twitch chat, so anyone can do that.
That could be it. But yeah, like so I really wanted to have an English character, and so Perry was always English, and that was important to me. And yeah, like I think like the idea in my head was always, Perry hasn't known Di and Morgan for very long. They only met them like during the cataclysm, during those 9 days of like at the start of the apocalypse. And I think like whilst Perry like pre-cataclysm was really interested in like Welsh literature and like Celtic, like early medieval Celtic literature, like I am, again, like in lots of ways they're very much a bit my self-insert, like they are or at least they were the part of me that like cares about Arthurian stuff, right? Like they were my voice for the academic stuff. Like they're a lot less like me personally, but like anyway, even though they're really interested in all that stuff, I think Perry is someone who grew up like in England and is very academic and very nerdy, genuinely didn't know many Welsh people in real life before they met Di and Morgan, like and so a big part of like the apocalypse, and I think a thing that they really enjoy, especially about their friendship with Di, who like Di is really proud of his Welsh heritage and speaks Welsh a lot and enjoys Welsh, is that like I think Perry and Di had and have lots of conversations about the Welsh language, and so Perry not pronouncing things perfectly but knowing what they're supposed to be is kind of exactly what Perry as a character would do. So it kind of made sense for Robin too, and like what I think would be really cool to see if we are able to make more, which as much as we would all love to is contingent on whether or not we can get the money, but a thing that would be really cool to see is Robin, hopefully you getting to grips better with the Welsh language as Perry gets to grips better with it, as Perry knows Di and Morgan for more time and spends more time around Welsh speakers practicing Welsh, which like is a nice bit of like reality and fiction kind of having a nice bit of harmony. Okay, done now.
Okay, let's move over to the episode. So we'll see you in about was it 38 minutes on this episode. Please enjoy Camlann episode 7, Under the Hill. Give me just 2 minutes, and then it'll stop playing.
Agor tipenu gilla drus, agor tipenu gilla drus. We get the word fairy from Old French. We get a lot of words from Old French because of the whole Norman conquest thing. In turn, French got it from Latin, fata, meaning the fates. There's something in that, isn't there? In Gaelga, they've got a lot of names for the Fae. One is Dina Maha, the good people. Cymraeg, they're Tulwydd Teg, the fair folk. There's the Gwrag Ethanon, the woman of the waters. There are the Coblinau in the mines, Bubachod in the houses, Gwyllion in the hills. In Welsh literature, Anon is the other world, the land of the Fae, which can be accessed under hollow hills. In a lot of indigenous cultures, the other world is as close as the other side of a leaf. From one footstep to the next, you're there. And then, everything changes.
Figured you needed warming up.
Thank you.
It's been 3 days. Should we...
He's coming back.
Right, but something could have...
He's coming back.
Look, Perry, I can see how much Dai means to you, but this is serious.
Gwen, Shujan, trust me. He's coming back.
I'm kind of surprised this thing is still going. Have you been keeping it lit?
Can't put it out. I tried yesterday, but nothing seems to work. Water does nothing, neither does smothering it.
Is that a problem?
I'm not sure. Whatever's keeping it burning also isn't letting it touch the cottage, so I'm taking the win.
Has this happened before?
The fire? No, actually. I've never seen anything like it.
Perry.
Not like this. As sometimes he swings too far up or too far down. Thinks he's invincible or really doesn't want to exist. When we were in Cornwall, he tried to jump off a cliff, although I'm pretty sure that was mostly the sirens. Normally I could see it coming.
It doesn't work like that. You can't love the mental illness out of someone.
I know.
Perry, Dai isn't going to last alone out there. If he's manic, he could be taking significant risks. If he's depressive, he could be doing the same in a different direction. We need to go and find him.
I know. I just have this feeling
What is it?
that he doesn't want us to follow. Camlann, Episode 7, Under the Hill.
You only just noticed?
Shut up.
Come on, get down before you fall down.
I've got a better idea.
Ben! Are you alright?
I'm fine. You should have seen the look on your face.
This isn't funny, Ben. What if you'd hurt yourself?
As if.
That rock was 6 foot tall. You could have broken your spine.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have.
How? Magic?
Well, you wouldn't have let me do it if you thought I was actually going to get hurt.
Is it recording? Cannot believe that thing still works.
Did you bring a camera?
Technically, my phone counts, but you're right. This is better. So, hello, future us. This is Di Thomas and Morgan Jones on our first night in Bristol. If my lovely camera woman will give us a 360. As you can see, it's pretty dark, but it is definitely not Aberystwyth. We made it, folks. We actually got out. Take that, existential ennui. It's almost worth the incredibly high concentration of English bastards.
Don't say that so loudly.
Nobody cares. Coming up, Biff! You have a lovely evening too, sir.
Is there anything else you want to say for the record?
Oh, yes, actually. Future me, listen closely, because this is important. You would not be here if it wasn't for the divine grace of Morgan Jones. She got you through your GCSEs. She got you through your A-levels. She got you through your UCAS application. This woman is incredible, and you owe her your life. So don't you ever forget it.
I know you're out there, Parrot dear. Are you listening? Sooner or later, you're going to find this channel and talk to me.
Just this once.
I know you're there, Parrot dear. Don't bother pretending. Pick up the transmitter. Go on. Ignoring me must be terribly uncomfortable for you. You don't even know what I have to say. I never thought of pride as one of your weaknesses, Paradir. I realize now I was mistaken in that. How long are you going to pursue this charade? Until we find out exactly what happens when you try to break a gash?
You don't know what you're talking about.
Can't resist a lecture, can you?
What is it now? Have you suddenly discovered feminism? Are you planning to make an apology?
Not exactly. You've lost someone. One of your merry band of thieves. I thought so. We could all feel it. Your distress. Do you even know you're doing it? Calling out for help like a siren. You've blown the horn of Gondor, and we are coming to get you.
I don't want your help.
Part of you does. Part of you knows that whatever is scaring you so badly is not a fight you'll win alone. That's why it's calling for us.
I didn't.
But you did. I can feel it. Paradir, I don't actually want you to suffer, and I certainly don't want you to get yourself killed. So why don't you grow up and tell me what the problem is?
Eat a dick, Kay.
You need to sleep at some point, you know?
I wish I didn't.
Because of the dreams?
You know the worst part about magical, possibly prophetic dreams? Most people can just ignore their nightmares. You dream about your brother getting... and you just write it off as the mark that trauma left you with. But I have to take all of it seriously because there's always a chance that it might be a matter of life or death. I feel like I haven't been able to breathe for almost a year.
So why do you keep the name?
What?
Morgan. You could use a different one. When I'm Shujin, I don't have to be Guinevere. Sometimes I don't want to be her. You could choose a different path.
The troll wasn't the only monster in Bristol. My family were visiting. My little brother, he was 15. I couldn't...
You don't have to talk about this.
The last word in his mouth was my name. Being her, being this person, being who I am hurts every single day. But trying to be anyone else would hurt more. It's like my name is a spell. An invocation of everyone I've loved and everything I am and the culture that I carry with me. I can't give it up. I don't want to.
That's kind of how I feel about Guinevere. The people I was with, none of them had story names. A few of them had historical names or family names or religious names, but I was the only one with a name from a story. And you know what Guinevere is? A damsel in distress. It was like a curse. I kept pulling things towards us, monsters and things that looked like knights but definitely weren't human, and none of them could save me. And I couldn't save myself because that's not how the story goes. And I knew it was because of her. I knew it was this name, Guinevere. But my dad and I chose this together when I was 16. He was a lecturer in Western literature at a university in Hong Kong. He used to tell me British legends like bedtime stories when I was a little kid. He kept talking until I fell asleep. It was just the two of us growing up, and he worked so hard to build a life for me. He was in Hong Kong when the cataclysm happened. And I don't know if he's okay. So I can't let go of this name because I got Shujun from my mother and my dad gave me Guinevere. And I can't let him go.
Gwen.
Sorry. Ignore me. It's fine. What I'm trying to say is that I know what it feels like to hold on to a name because it matters to you, even when it hurts.
Yeah, you really do, don't you?
So, what are you dreaming about now?
Are you sure? We can keep talking about this if you want to.
No, it's fine. Talk to me.
Okay. I keep seeing this woman. She's beautiful. With this gold silk dress. She's always surrounded by birds. She's playing some kind of board game.
Do you know who she is?
I have an idea. Have you ever read the Mabinogion?
No. My dad talked about it sometimes, but I never actually got around to reading it. We were more of a Mallory household.
I'll forgive you. No one said the apocalypse would have homework.
I know. I feel cheated.
The Mabinogion, that's a mistranslation. It's Pedair Cainc y Mabinogi, the 4 branches of the Mabinogi. It's a book of old Welsh stories. Really old stories. Some of the oldest we have. It's weird and medieval and very Welsh. It's beautiful. One of the 4 branches, Pwyll, is about a prince of Dyfed. He falls in love with Rhiannon. She's a fairy from Annon, the other world. She's associated with birds.
What about the board game?
In another story, The Dream of Maxen, there's this game, Gwyddbwyll. It's described as a board where the pieces fight each other in this sort of miniature battle.
Wait, isn't that like...
Don't even go there. Di has a 45-minute lecture on the subject. I've timed it.
So what does this mean?
Normally, Annon can be accessed by going into or under or through a hollow hill. So we just have to figure out a way to do that.
That's assuming Di's even there.
He's there.
How do you know?
Because it's the most dangerous thing he could have chosen to do. And because I can feel it. Like an anchor in deep water, pulling me down. He's gone to the other world.
I feel like leaving at night is making this more dangerous, not less.
We don't have time to lose. If Di is in Anon, then time often works differently there. What could have been a minute for us might have been years for him.
Let's not think about it too much.
He's going to be okay.
She's right, Morgan. He's stronger than he looks.
Let's go over the rules again. Gwen?
No food, no drink, no names. Be polite, no gambling, no promises, no deals.
And don't forget the earplugs. Thank you, Odysseus, you horrible little man. I don't know if this will actually help with being put under some kind of thrall, but it's story logic.
Are we sure they won't take the crossbow as some kind of preemptive insult?
I'm playing my part.
All you need now is a suit of shining armour.
And a spear. Heredia is supposed to have a spear.
Dream big.
Did you guys hear that?
What?
Oh, holy cow!
Those dogs are beautiful. Owls, technically. Who is he? Wait for it.
What did we just see?
Gwynab Neve and his hounds, the Cúnanon.
What does that mean?
Nothing good. Come on, let's go.
This is it.
How do you know?
How do you know how to use a crossbow?
What do we do now?
I think we just...
That works. Okay, everyone get behind me.
Gal, heal.
Let's go under the hill.
Did you both just feel something?
My ears popped. I hate it when that happens.
I think I can see a light.
So bright.
I didn't know these colours existed.
They don't. Not in our world.
Oh, my goodness. People. Real people. You are real, aren't you?
What?
Are you all right? How long have you been here?
I don't know. It's so cold. I'm so very, very cold.
But there's blazing sunshine.
For them, maybe. Whatever it is won't seem to sink into these old bones.
Here, let me take a look at you.
Oh, that's very kind. Very kind of you. Oh, what a lovely young woman you are. Tell me, young lady, what is your name?
She's a seamstress. And you're not a lost old man, are you?
Oh, you're much sharper than you were the last time you were here, aren't you, little knight? It hardly seems fair. I only wanted some sport with the lady.
What are you talking about?
Our friend here is one of the gentry.
Fairly discovered, good night. You may call me Lapwing. Sister, it has been too long since we have welcomed you to our meadows.
I am not your sister.
No, I suppose you wouldn't think so. All of you have forgotten much since Camlann. No matter. You've come for the witch, our cousin, I assume. Well, he's playing games with Queen Rhiannon. Hurry up. I can't imagine you'll want to be late.
Oh my god!
No, don't.
He's barely conscious!
It has been a source of great distress for Queen Rhiannon. He will neither eat nor drink, as if his father's blood does not protect him from our gifts in the way that it always has.
He's been here before? If you say his name, then he is trapped here forever.
He can't even see us.
He is focused on the game. Playing Gwyddbwyll is a matter of intricate strategy. They've been engaged in the struggle for 9 days and nights.
When does he play strategy games?
The half-devil has long been a master of such things. There were centuries in which all we did was discover new ways to confound him.
What are the rules? When they started playing, exactly what rules were set out?
It was not necessary to explain how to play a familiar game to an old friend. The wager was set, the spear Rongon Minyad, and the dagger Carwenan if he beats Queen Rhiannon. His company if he does not. She has missed him terribly.
Right. Great.
Ydych chi'n cofio unrhyw beth am bywyd eich hun?
Ni o'n bwyad ydw i nawr. Eich mor ydi. Dyna ddigon.
I have defeated the Gwyddbwyll.
What is the meaning of this, Sir Knight?
Your Majesty, no rules were set out as to how the game might be defeated. I think it is clear enough that I have conquered it.
After a fashion. You have not changed, Beredder.
Your Majesty?
Hey, Per.
Do not worry, little knight. That is only one of many names.
Rihanna?
Take him home. Sister, these were when fairly enough.
What are they?
Arthur's weapons, once. His spear and dagger. It should please you to take them from him. And you, dear lady. You have not visited my court before, but I know your face. It is written across 1,000 dreams.
I mean, no offense, Your Highness.
No. You never did.
Let's get you out of here.
Your Majesty?
Do not break my things again, Peredur.
You have my word, Queen Rhiannon.
Cousin, about your lover. You didn't fail him. You just needed more time.
Since when was there 3 feet of snow out here?
Did you see that deer? It was completely white.
Perry, what's going on?
Time is weird in Anon. Sometimes you're away longer than you think.
So we have no idea how long we've been gone?
Gwen, I think he's passed out.
Right. Shit, he's freezing.
It was midsummer in there.
To them, maybe. The herald said he hadn't eaten or drunk anything for 9 days.
He should be dead twice over from dehydration alone.
Gwen?
But he isn't. We need to get him inside now.
Up we go.
Let's go home.
What's the prognosis?
I'm still not an actual doctor. And even if I was, I'm not a miracle worker.
You don't sound like you're about to tell me that my best friend is dead.
It's impossible. He's dehydrated and starving, but neither are anywhere near as far along as they should be. Even if it was just the 3 days on our side. Honestly, as far as I can tell, all he needs is some bed rest and soup and he'll be fine. Morgan, that only happens to people who have...
Thank you for doing this. I realise it isn't your job to babysit us through the apocalypse.
It isn't. But I'm not going to let anyone else die if I can help it.
You should take a break. I'll keep an eye on him.
You sure?
Yeah. Go. I should be furious with you, you know. And I am angry. But mostly I'm just glad you're okay. Please stop doing this to me, Q. I don't think I can do it again.
Morgan?
You're awake.
Oh, I feel like I got hit by a truck.
According to Gwen, you should be dead. Twice. But somehow, magically, you were just fine.
Morgan.
Does it actually matter to you that you are the only person I have left? Does that factor into your decision-making at all?
Of course it does.
Really, Di? Because you don't act like it. You act like you were invincible. You act like you were responsible for no one but yourself. You act like that responsibility doesn't matter. Like you'd throw away your life for a flip of the coin just because you thought it was funny.
That's not true.
Isn't it? You disappeared in the middle of the night, left your meds behind, and went under a fairy hill. What were you thinking?
That I didn't want to lose anyone else.
Look, groups of names make stories stronger. Acting like your story makes it stronger. Story weapons work better than modern ones. So what if I could get an actual magical weapon from a story? Isn't that the silver bullet? I could protect you. I could keep you safe.
No, you can't.
Why not?
Because your name is Dai.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't, and you know it isn't. I'm Myrddin. I've always been Myrddin. It doesn't matter what people call me. It matters who I am. The name my mother gave me, the person I've always been.
Then why not just say that? Why bother with the lie? It's been 9 months, Dai. I've been lying for you for 9 months. Why? What could possibly be so important that you'd risk giving up your real name for the sake of helplessness? You could have all the power in the world at your fingertips. You could have saved all of us 3 times over. Why not just be him?
Because I'm not important. I'm not the main character. I'm the comic relief. I'm Welsh and bi and funny in the head. I don't want to control the narrative. I don't want to be some all-powerful kingmaker. I want to go home. I want to see my mum. I want to be stupid and pointless and free.
You can't have it both ways. You can't lie to everyone around you and ask me to lie and then go and take stupid risks that endanger everyone on the assumption that a name you never use still holds power.
But it does! Morgan, it does! I can feel him the way you feel her. He's never left.
So be him! Actually be him! Stop telling yourself that you can't!
That's rich coming from the woman so terrified of who she is that she's eating herself alive.
Our whole story revolves around you. Have you noticed that? Whenever you want something, we do it. Whenever you need something, we get it. You are puppeting us around your fantasy while you get to run away and pretend to be someone you are not. You are just as bad as Arthur. Worse. At least he was honest about it.
Camlann.
And
Episode 7.
That's
Under
our
the
episode.
Hill.
That's
Was
our
written
episode.
and directed by Ella Watts.
Episode 7.
It was produced by Amber Devereaux.
We are joined.
Sorry, it's just. What is that?
So I've just had like it's like I'm seeing the costume anew for the first time.
I'm a wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry. There we go. I'm sorry, we're referencing it.
I'm so happy that like I hate that you can't throw a podcast the way you can throw a book. That's so fun. I'm so happy that we can finally reveal this. This was almost explicitly mentioned from episode 1. I'm very happy we can finally tell you all, but it's just finally it's off my chest. Like it's taken so long. Like Tobias, have you also like felt like have you felt like the weight of like holding this in or like
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Anytime I talk about this show with people, because it's just sort of like, oh yeah, it's really interesting that you talk about all these characters linked with mythology and the Mabinogi, and it's like, so what's Dai? It's like, oh, he's nothing.
Look, I think I do have to give credit to the listeners because, like, on the stream on Wednesday when I was talking about episode 6, we were talking about like, you know, Gwen is earth and Morgan is water, and then everyone in the chat started saying, and Dai loves his fire.
Yeah, Dai's fire. He does love that bonfire. And a couple people figured it out, and I'm so pleased, and I'm so it's just great to be able to tell everyone. But no, now that the lid's been taken off, in episode 1, scene 2, there's a bit where Morgan and Dai get to the door of the cottage, and Morgan's like, is this it? Is this the moment where you want to find out if you have any real power? She's talking about the fact that Dai is Myrddin. Like, in episode 3, obviously, Dai says, I'm basically a wizard, because he's basically a wizard. In episode episode 4 when Di and Morgan have an argument whilst Gwen and Perry are away, and Morgan's like, have you decided to change anything about the way you're currently handling the apocalypse? And then Di is all like, oh well, but we don't know what would happen if I did that. He's talking about like taking the name Merthin.
He's a wizard.
Like, yep. When in episode 4, when Perry is like, you know why you can't go into town, and Di is really frustrated. It's because he knows that he could go and he would be fine, but he doesn't. He hasn't told Perry, and he's being caught by his own lie. In episode 5, there's quite a few things where, well, actually, there are some things I can't tell you because spoilers. But yeah, very pleased to finally be able to reveal this.
I'm basically a wizard. When I listen to that episode, well, because my partner will normally, like, when they come out, they will listen to it in bed next to me while I'm waking up. So I'm just gonna check my emails and just do my phone. And they were listening to it next to me, and I showed the line, I'm basically a wizard, and they just went, no, I didn't know.
It's like, oh man, I added that line really late to the drafts. It wasn't in a lot of the earlier drafts, which meant that Ross and Amber actually hadn't seen that line because they'd read like previous drafts, but not quite the ones that we sent out to the cast. And when we recorded the first take of that scene, we had to retake it because Ross and Amber audibly gasped so loudly that you could like interrupt the recording. Like, Ross was like, I can't believe you did that. Like, I was like, yes, I did.
I keep misreading people writing Mervyn as Marvin, and I just keep thinking of Marvin the Martian. My brain's like changing the letters up.
It's a whole name family. Like I do think that one of the fun things about not to make the joke serious, I'm very neurodivergent, whatever, I won't apologize for it. But like one interesting thing that I enjoy thinking about with Camlann is like how many permutations of a name can you have for it to still be connected to like the name. So you know, like one place you can think about this with is like Gawain, like because there's like Gawain, but there's also Gavin and Gawain and Owen and Owain, and like all of those names, like which all come from the same and Gauvin, even like French names, like are all coming from the same one name, but like it has lots and lots of different versions. And the same is true with Merthin, like etc. But I also just honestly think that the Welsh name sounds better. Like it is also like there is an element of it as well, which is that like we will discuss this further, but like Di was going by Di before the Cataclysm because Merthin as a name was harder for English speakers to say, and he'd moved to Bristol to go to university, and he was sick of dealing with like people being annoying, and so he was just like, I'll just go with Di because it's easier to say, but it's still a Welsh name, and it is his middle name, and it is a nickname that people know him by. But like
it's even a thing in Wales. Like growing up, one of my best friends in school, Caris, her dad is called Mervyn, and even Welsh people were just like, we're just going to call you Merv. Because nobody would say Mervyn because it just wasn't a very common name. And also in response to Saracena, yes, I did hide specifically to make that appeance.
Yeah, you know those noises you heard when we were talking? That was Tobias.
Tobias.
Yes.
I had nothing to do with that.
Like you can... Discord has a soundboard function that I can't turn off.
But yeah, no, and also like it's fun because yeah, like it's in my head, there's some stuff which I do really want to explore in the podcast if we ever make more, but like some of it we probably will never explore like on screen. But I needed to know about the characters. And a lot of it is like, you know, what's their background, what's their relationship with their family, and like Di is very, very, very close to his mum, Shan. But like Shan like just cared a lot about like Welsh culture, and it's part of why she chose this like quite like kind of slightly archaic name for him. But like it's also why Di knows all of these folk songs, because like some of them are quite common like nursery rhymes, but there's also some quite obscure ones, and it's because of Shan. Like he learned them all from his mum, and the reason that he sings them and the reason that he cares so much about Welsh and the Welsh language is a lot because of his mum and how much he loves his mum and how much he misses his mum. And so like all of that, like Di's relationship with Wales and the Welsh language and Welsh culture and his name is so rooted in his relationship to his family. And like the mirror of that is that Morgan's relationship with her name and her culture is very rooted in her relationship to her family. And whilst like we see a lot about Ben and her grief about Ben, we haven't really talked that much about her parents yet. But yeah, the two of them obviously reflect and kind of counter each other in lots of ways. But yeah, Perry doesn't know.
Well, I'm starting to realize as well as we sit here that I voice this. I talk about it a lot, the Sister Songbook, because it's Arthuriana, and it said, and I think I was saying Merden, like rather than mer, the V sound, I tapped it, and I'm like, I really hope that was correct, because we talked a lot about, because we're again talking about different versions of these names, and that was sort of what we had got. But it is so interesting looking at it in context of this, is the oral tradition of storytelling and how these things change and amend, and where these sounds come from. So yes, I'm very sorry to anyone who's listening to that if that was the correct pronunciation. We did talk about it a lot, but this is the problem, is unless you've got someone like Ella on hand, who I now do, but like, you will be getting messages from me at points, by the way, as I will be.
I think you should probably speak to professional Welsh people rather than me. But like
professional Welsh people often don't know the Mabinogi as well. But yes, I don't know. Is it?
Do lots of people do. Listen, you can join the Celtic Academics Facebook group. It's great. I have a wonderful time.
Genuinely, I will. But it is this interesting thing of the difference, as you say, with names. And I think you're also talking about Perry is also Percival. And
Perry is
but
actually,
that's the French translation.
Well, yeah. So Perry is Paradira Mabafraug, who is the Welsh, like, Paradis, son of Efraug, who's the Welsh one who shows up in the Mabinogi, and there is like some contestation in Arthuriana literature whether like Perry is Percival, but he definitely is, because like in Chrétien de Troyes like romances, which these 4 different Arthurian romances, which are, we believe, some of the oldest like French Arthurian romances we have. There's a character called Percival who follows the exact same story as Paradia, except that Paradia's one was written in a manuscript like 100 years earlier, so it's like, oh boy, I wonder what happened. And then from that, like, basically we go on a little loop, so we go from Wales to France, and then we come back to England from France, and so then the French, so you have Paradia, and then you have Perceval, and then you have Percival, and all 3 of them are variations of the same character, but you get that quite frequently. So like, for example, Kay, Sir Kay, is Kai in Welsh, like, and in the Welsh tradition, C-A-I. You still get people in Wales today called Kai, C-A-I. You still get people in England called Kay, but those are the same story tradition. And one of the big things about Camlann is that like part of like the meta narrative is about the strength of different stories. So for example, in one draft of season 1, our Morgan was haunted by literally another actor who was playing the version of Morgan that Morgan is frightened of, and the version of Morgan that she's frightened of is the French English version. And like, so you have like, because there's several different versions of Morgan, and she is sometimes more sympathetic and sometimes less sympathetic. And her most sympathetic versions are, I think, in the Welsh traditions, because like in Welsh stories, often the heroes are shapeshifters and magic users and tricksters, whereas in the French and English traditions, normally the heroes are like people with big violence, like big swords doing violence, and then the tricksy lying women folk are the evil ones. And so like in like our Morgan, if she were to trust her own like culture and tradition, is a lot safer and more powerful, but the version of herself that she's frightened of is like the version of herself that she knows, that is the more common like popular narrative, which is this kind of like twisted French English version.
I'm just so obsessed with this auditory hallucination, just being yourself but with a British, like an English accent.
But
like, as a Welsh person, what's the worst thing you can imagine? It's myself, but I'm English.
But it wasn't even that she was haunted by like herself. It was that she was haunted by Morgan Le Fay, like, you know, like by like, and it's the same, like, you know, when in that scene just now in episode 7 where she's so pretty, haunted.
Haunted by Katie McGrath.
She's Irish, so you can't accuse her of being English. I think that's a hate crime. But no, it's like in the scene at the end of episode 7, where Di says that he feels Myrthen, like the version of that story that Di feels is the Welsh version, is the older version, and it's more powerful in Wales. If he was not in Wales, if he was in France or England, it would be a bit less powerful. And
Question linked to that.
yes.
Is it so powerful because of Carmarthen?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Hi. Yeah, I did that. That was on purpose. Yeah. So like a big part of the plot actually is that the gang, like in my head, what happens is, so as Morgan alludes to at the end of this episode, Di, whether he realizes it or not, is kind of puppeting the gang wherever he wants them to go, which is why they do their kind of pointless little drive around in episode 5. Like, there's no reason for them to waste all that fuel, but Di just wants to be closer to Gwen, so they drive out, despite their better judgment, despite Perry's better judgment and Gwen's better judgment, because Di is drawing them forward because he is the most famous and most powerful story character. And because of that, when they're like trekking up and down the British Isles trying to find somewhere safe, Di just kind of leads them to Carmarthen without even thinking it. Like, he's not consciously doing it, but he just brings them there. Like, he basically has like a little homing compass in his head. And then when he gets there, like Di, he isn't on purpose trying to do magic, but part of the reason that the events of the series of Camlann happen is because Di's magic is so much more powerful here. He's basically like plugged himself into the mains, that every time he wants anything, it's amplified. And so every time he feels anything, every time he does anything, it's really, really amplified. It's really, really easy for him to access his magic. It also does mean that Perry's a little bit stronger, because Perry, the name they chose was not Percival or Percival, it was specifically Peredur, so they're a little bit stronger in Wales. But it also means that Morgan's nightmares are a bit stronger because she's in Wales, and this is also a Welsh story. But like, all three of them have essentially experienced a little bit of a power-up, having come to Carmarthen, but especially Di, very much Di.
I suppose it's not a spoiler at this point, is it, to say what the Welsh name for Carmarthen is?
Yeah, no.
I don't think we've mentioned it in the show yet, have we?
I mentioned it in the show notes at the end, and then Amber kept in a little bit of joke that I left for Amber, but then Amber kept it in where I went, the more you know.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't listened to that.
Just to give you an idea of like what the tone of the housekeeping when it comes through to me. So Ella just gets really giggly whenever she has to do any kind of like recording. It was the same when we did the credits.
One. I don't know why. I got out of control. The episode 7, I think it was because I was excited about this reveal, but I lost control a little bit. I sent Amber the email and I was like, if you want me to redo this, I'll redo it. It's 45 minutes of me giggling. But yes, please, Tobias, share with the crowd.
Well, Caerfyrddin is the Welsh name for Carmarthen, which is Merlin's fort.
Yeah, no, literally, we are in the heartland of Di's story. And yeah.
I think I took one. I met an Owain today, and
we have an Karen.
She is stroking the camera.
Is this...
Hello, darling.
Hello.
You're on mute. You're muted.
You're muted.
And Harad's dressed like she's auditioning for the Mummy movie.
Yes. Oh my God, what? You have that great Rachel Weisz energy. Respect. Sorry.
You just muted yourself again. This is incredible.
I love that you've come on to stream to sort this out.
This is amazing.
I think we should all continue to be silent.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no.
Oh. Goodbye.
Devastating.
Like a ghost, the ghost of Morgan.
Oh, yeah. She was there for a moment.
She was there for a moment. Amber's gone.
Oh,
she's back.
Everyone.
Oh.
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, gorgeous.
Hi. I just thought I'd join for like 10 minutes, if that's okay.
Of course. Yes.
Welcome. Do you have any thoughts about episode 7 you want to share?
So many. Yeah, I mean, I was like quite nervous about the confrontation at the end because like Di is such a beloved character and I love him so much. And so then it's like, oh, I don't want to be the person who says you're just as bad as Arthur to die. That's like kicking a puppy in the face.
Kick him.
To be fair, very badly behaved puppy, and I've already seen people on Tumblr like really jumping to Morgan's defense. I think I saw someone being like, what was it they said? They were like, I'm swatting Di with a broom for what he's put everyone through, but especially Morgan.
Naughty Di.
She's been through so much. Like, Di is her puppy in every way, but also sometimes he's not very well behaved. He does break things. I think we've had this conversation with like a couple of you, like I think especially like Robin and Tobias, about like how both of you at some point came up to me and was like, wait, is my character being an arsehole? Is my character an arsehole? We definitely had that with like Paul as well. I think Paul disapproves of Gwaine a lot. But like
please, can we do parody Am I the Arsehole posts from Camlann in the series? Like, am I the arsehole for
I led these people on a wild goose chase and they're like my best friends and we all nearly died. Am I the arsehole?
I may have broken a fairy's giant game of chess, but
is there anything else you want to share about Ep 7, Aghara? Because I know you're going to have to disappear on us. I love your scene with Gwen in this episode. I think it's really great.
It's so nice because it's from, I was just thinking today, it was like, has Morgan ever been vulnerable with anyone else in her whole life apart from Di until that moment? And so like to be the second person you're ever vulnerable with, that's quite a big deal. And she's not known her for very long either. So it just shows the very special connection that they have together, which is really nice.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, because I think like the whole thing, like we have that scene with Ben and Di, and like I think for me part of the reason for writing that is that they are both Morgan's brothers, but like Di is so much closer to Morgan in age, whereas like with Ben she always felt like she was looking after him because he's like 7 to 9 years younger than, I can't remember exactly, but it's like nearly 10 years younger than her, and so she always thought of him as like her baby, whereas Di is like more of her equal. But yeah, like, and I think as much as Morgan really likes Perry, like I don't think like Morgan is there yet with Perry, just because she's only known them for like 9 months, and she was never like that with her parents. Yeah, so I do think like probably this is one of the first times that she's been that vulnerable, especially after the Cataclysm, with anyone except for Di. And I think a big part of writing the relationship between Gwen and Morgan is that I think in lots of ways, and I think it creates kind of an interesting tension with Di. Like, one of the things I kind of want to explore if we got to write more is that like Gwen kind of starts replacing the role that Di has always had in Morgan's life of being the person that Morgan confides in and stuff, and then Di kind of will eventually realize that like he's kind of slightly a little bit being ousted. Like it's he'll never be like he'll always be very important to Morgan, but like he used to be the only person Morgan could talk to, and now he's not that, and sometimes she would rather talk to Gwen than talk
but
to
he'll
him.
never be a pretty lady.
Yeah, he's just not as pretty as Gwen. He's pretty too in his own way, but like he's not a pretty girl.
Different is nice, but it sure isn't pretty. Pretty is what it's about. Oh my god, that's a reference. In the chat, if you know what that's a reference to, pop that down.
Also, wait, like, hang on.
You got a great question in the chat.
How would the place name relation work for characters like Odysseus? The further he is from Greece, it's safer for him, or more difficult? He has less power. Kind of both. So the further you are away from your story's homeland, the less power you have from your story. That is true. It's why Arthur wanted to move to Glastonbury, because he's working with the English Arthur, and the English Arthur, his seat of power is in Glastonbury. It also means that like, were the knights to be like near Wales, the Welsh stories would be stronger than the English ones in Wales. But also, yeah, like in terms of it's safer for you having less story-related happenings. That would also happen. Obviously, though, it would be more dangerous because everywhere in the world has stories. You would just be facing stories that you weren't part of, and therefore you're not protected from. So, like with Perry and the Black Dogs, like Perry isn't protected from the Black Dogs because they're not part of their story. So, if you went to like the Americas, for example, you'd encounter a lot of like folklore from indigenous stories. But if your name is from a Welsh story, that's gonna do fuck all to help you. So, in a lot of ways, you're safer sticking to your homeland. Odysseus has a very specific problem because unfortunately for him, he was sailing in the Mediterranean, and there's one very specific part of his story where Odysseus is sailing in the Mediterranean, which is why our Odysseus has been stuck sailing in the Mediterranean for 9 months, unable to go home, because he just so happened to be in the middle of the ocean. Could Gawain escape his fate by simply staying away from France? Can Gawain stay away from France? Great questions. Unfortunately, Gawain very much did not escape his fate. I think Dai really wanted Gawain to escape his fate, and Gawain was like, "I'm gonna go find it." So,
He needed he needed the French. I mean, who can stay away? They have the cheese. Did you just get fed through the magic curtain?
Tobias, did you just get
Tobias
chocolate
just
given
acquired
to you through
food.
So you've got a magic chocolate curtain.
No.
Well, that's what that's another name for Merlin's cave. I'm so sorry.
Welcome to the magic chocolate
It was
curtain.
quick, but yes, it was a chorus line reference. Well done, whoever just got that in the chat.
So I have
Shout
actually,
out to Beck.
I do have a little thing to quickly show everyone. So for the video camera scenes at the start of the episode, we have we recorded it on an actual video camera, and I uploaded the video that Ankara took to Google. So give me just a second. If we can play it. Just give me just a second to share my screen for these delightful Discord people. When it's gonna...
What we found out was at first on day one, in hour one of day one, I was like, oh, it seems like Angharad is the quiet one of the group. And then in hour 2 of day one, I was like, this is not true. And by hour 3, we realized that Angharad was the chaotic one. There is a scene where Dai and Morgan have a conversation over a radio at one point, and recording that with you two was absolute fucking nonsense.
I think that was the point we realised that Angharad is in fact the tank, and we should all respect that.
How did we do the heckling on the recording? I mean, so Angharad was speaking whilst she was holding the camera, so you can hear her through the camera mic, but also Amber had the mic in the room recording that we recorded the whole series on. So we had both Tobias and Angharad being recorded on the mic in the room, but also on the camera mic. And so Angharad literally was performing her reactions and stuff to Dai whilst holding the camera and moving around and stuff and pretending to be videoing him. And we opened the windows to the studio so we could get the sounds of traffic. So the traffic you can hear is actually Glasgow when it's supposed to be Bristol.
So
That's pure Glasgow traffic.
It's also a nightclub as well. I managed to find a audio of a nightclub that we could watch. So this is what it looked like.
Is it recording? Cannot believe that thing still works.
Did you bring a camera?
Technically, my phone counts, but you're right. This is better. So, hello, future us. This.
I thought it was just me.
You can see click watch stream, go onto Discord, click general, and then click
Two
watch
things
stream.
already. One, little Ross in the background.
Yeah, Ross just standing there.
Two, for some reason, 5 months apart, I look so much younger, and I don't know why.
So you can watch it if you click on the...
Is it recording?
Oh, yeah, you do, babyface.
That thing still works.
Did you bring a camera?
Technically, my
Oh
phone
yeah, and the
counts,
"Don't Hug
but
Me, I'm
you're
Scared"
right.
shirt.
This is better. So, hello, future us. This is Dai Thomas
Working on
and Morgan
Camlann has
Jones
aged
on our
you.
first night in Bristol. If my lovely camera woman will give
We
us a
treat our
360.
actors very well.
As you can see, it's pretty dark, but it is definitely not Aberystwyth.
Yeah,
We
I
made
can't hear
it.
any audio. I'm not sure.
We made it, folks. We actually got out. Take that, existential ennui. It's almost worth the
It's very
incredibly
cute.
high concentration of English
enjoy
bastards.
watching the video.
Don't say that so loudly.
Nobody cares.
So folks watching the stream can hear it. So if it's just us, we can probably leave it.
Oh yeah, we don't need to. We've got access to it. We can watch it whenever we like.
Stop filming
You
my
want to
chest.
say
My
for the
eyes are up
record?
there.
Future, listen closely, because this is important. You would not be here if it wasn't for the divine grace of Morgan Jones.
Just being
She got you through your GCSEs.
That's why I was
got you through
crying
your
in the
A-levels.
episode, because I zoomed in
Got you
on
through your
Tobias's
UCAS
nose.
application. This woman is incredible, and you owe her your life. So don't
It
you
does
ever
have the vibe of
forget
Blair
it.
Witch Project. Like,
Yeah, we didn't
but
know.
that's
Ross
sad.
wasn't actually there.
No.
We didn't know who that was.
So
The ghost of a Glaswegian.
I just remember, like, I think it was after the first take, we were kind of doing notes and things, and Ankara was giggling. And I was like, "You okay?" And she was just like, "Yeah." I just kept zooming in on his nose. It's just
It was very funny.
It's very funny.
It was such chaos. Also good. I'm glad that watching that after hearing the fight was heartbreaking. That's why it's in this episode. To be like, hey, remember how much they care about each other? Doesn't it suck when they're mean to each other? Isn't that horrible?
Never been to Bristol, but it definitely looks different from what I imagined.
That's pretty accurate. Cool people in a flat that's too small, chilling out and making each other laugh. Yeah, sounds like Bristol.
So, for the person that asked, how did you get the heckling in? Basically, I did another video recording when I was doing the editing where I pointed the camera away from myself and just yelled. I sort of yelled through to my partner who was working in one of the other rooms, just to let you know I'm about to yell something very rude. She was like, "No, that's cool," and then hit record and then yelled it. So that's how we managed to get the heckling in there as well.
And Amber is available for more acting work. So
yes,
if you want them,
you can hire
they were
them.
the star.
Credited as sweary
I have
bastard.
to say, like, that scene and a lot of parts of this episode are a lot about, like, I mean, to be fair, like most of the series is so much about like Di and Morgan's friendship, but also like that. Like the moment when they get to Bristol together is such a big moment for both of them, and it was inspired a lot by a friend of mine and like our friendship over the years, and like talking a lot about like growing up and stuff. And my friend grew up in Aberystwyth, and like it's quite like a kind of liminal place. Like it's kind of, it's in the middle of the country. There's lots of people come and go. One of the reasons we picked it is because you can justifiably have someone living in Aber who has a southern or northern Welsh accent, and it kind of makes sense for both. And so we could have more flexibility over accents. But also, like in my head, like it's very much a thing where like Di and Morgan have that kind of slightly classic like growing up in the UK story of like just always kind of being in this one town and feeling very frustrated by it and wanting to get out. And like Morgan had a more pressing reason to want to get out, whereas Di was just like, I just want to see cool shit. I just want to go. Yeah, the ABBA bubble, exactly. Like, but then like, the two of them getting out like meant something quite different for each of them. But like Di says in the video, like he wouldn't have made it if Morgan hadn't like basically dragged him out. And Morgan dragged him out because she wanted him to be with her. And then that's why they're together when the cataclysm happens, and that's how they meet Gwaine, and that's how they meet Perry, and that's kind of how a lot of the stuff happens. But yeah, I don't know, I'm just kind of talking out loud. But Tobias and Harrod, what are your thoughts on Di and Morgan's friendship?
That's over.
Jesus
R.I.P.
Christ.
It never really begun, to be honest. It was all a big front.
Yeah, we were just pretending for Perry.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You were staying together for the kids.
Do people stay together for the parent?
Yeah.
No, I like the idea that Di and Morgan see
Weird
themselves
uncle.
as the parent of this random English person. Like Di and Morgan are like, we found this one English trans person and we have just adopted them. We are now responsible for them and we can't let them go.
We
Sorry,
have
please.
to protect them. Now, I think we've spoken about this before. Like they're siblings, like blood or not, they are like found family siblings, and I think it is just that thing of. I think this is the worst it's felt of them arguing, because obviously there is little bits of brushing shoulders throughout other episodes, but even listening to it felt quite painful because it was like, oh, that we did that, but also, oh, that's sad. Don't go.
Yeah. I think this might be one of the biggest fights that you see, like that Di and Morgan have ever had. I think.
I think that's why it's so big, because I think especially from Morgan's point of view, I think she probably like lets a lot of stuff slide with him, and so like this argument is not just about him running away to Anon. It's about stuff at Bristol and stuff from childhood and little things that she doesn't agree with, and the incident with the cliff. Is it in Cornwall?
Yeah.
The cliff in Cornwall that like maybe she like bit her tongue a lot on that as well. So yeah, this is just everything coming to the surface that hasn't before.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think, like, in my head, like, Morgan very much has, like, that oldest sibling energy of she always feels responsible and she always feels like she needs to protect everyone and she always kind of needs to put everyone else first. Whereas Di is an only child and Di kind of a little bit has that thing of, like, yeah, well, whatever, it'll work out. Like, everyone will just kind of accommodate what I need. And, like, and yeah, it is, like, a big theme of, like, the overall story, like, not just like in this series, but like again, if we ever got to make more, is about like that relationship needs to change like now that they're grown-ups, and it needs to change so that it is less, because right now it is so draining for Morgan, and it stopped being the thing that it used to be that like Morgan got a lot from their relationship, but it's become like very wearing for Morgan. And I think for like Di it's a lot more important than he realizes, and I don't think he realizes how much he leans on Morgan to just kind of take care of all the serious stuff without ever kind of being the grown up. And one of the things obviously with like Di's name and stuff that Morgan's kind of pushing for here is that she wants him to take responsibility, and she wants him to take responsibility for himself, and she wants him to like kind of take responsibility for his kind of role in the group, and he doesn't want to, and she's tried really hard to like give him the time to run away from responsibility and to run away from growing up. But like in my head the story, I'm an older sibling, and in my head the story is very much that thing of like when you have a younger sibling and you love them so much and you want to give them so much time to be a kid and have fun, but also eventually at some point they do have to grow up and accept that their actions have consequences and that they have to do things, and I think Di just hasn't quite gotten there yet, even in the apocalypse, and now he's finally in this place where he really has to actually do this, or just keep running away forever. And Morgan is just being the shock absorber for every time there's a consequence.
I was gonna say, like, acting wise, like that I think was the real like key for me for the whole scene, was like, because I remember the first take I did it, I just kind of like did it very like shouty, and it felt quite general, like, okay, it's just about this incident. And then I remember you saying, Ella, about that line about I've been lying for you for 9 months, like that, like to feel like the weight of the 9 months into the argument. And that's, I think, for me, then I just started feeling more like sad than anything in this scene. And so that was like, okay, now it made me a bit more vulnerable than I did in the first take, which was really nice.
Yeah, I think that is it. It's that Morgan is just tired. Like the scene starts with her like getting into bed and cuddling Di like they would when they were kids, because she just doesn't like seeing him hurt. And like it's the thing that we see in like again in that scene earlier with Ben, where Ben like jumps off the rock in the park, and then Morgan kind of freaks out. But it's like all that seems to happen is that people she loves put themselves in danger and don't think about the fact that upsets her. And like, obviously with the Kelpie in this series, but like other monsters as well. And like the thing is that Di, I think for me the thing that Di has is a thing that I've seen in many people I've loved and in myself, which is that like when you are struggling with mental illness, whether it's like depression or anxiety or things like bipolar disorder, it can be easy to assume that when you hurt yourself you're only hurting yourself, and easy to forget that when you hurt yourself you are also hurting the people around you, because they love you and they care and they don't like to see you hurt. And I remember like when I was having a really hard time growing up, like one of the big things that like changed my behavior in regards to my mental illness was like when my little brother found out, and he was so upset and he looked at me and he was like, well, but why would you do this to me? Like, and I was like, I didn't even think of it as a thing that I was doing to him, but like he'd always been like very protective of me. We're quite close in age, and a lot of like our relationship is in Di and Morgan's relationship. And I think the thing that Di is slowly starting to realize is that when he puts himself in danger like this, he thinks of himself as disposable. He thinks of himself as like the useless one, the extra weight, the person who isn't really vital to the group's survival. Like they need Perry, they need Morgan. Like Perry can protect them, Morgan can do the engineering. What does Di do? He's the fucking morale guy. He's basically the extra pair of hands. You can get rid of him, but he doesn't understand that like he's like the heart of the group, and every time he does this, it just cuts at Morgan, and it's part of why she is so stressed, and why she's having such a hard time is because of the way that Di's acting towards himself.
I feel like as well a lot of
yeah, no, after you.
I was going to say a lot of that scene talking about Angharad when we were playing it, like, to me, a lot of the most stressed out moments in my head, Dai isn't making eye contact. Because I feel like he is the kind of person that deals with confrontation in the thing of, like, the only way I can say the hurtful thing that's in my brain is if I don't look you in the eye, so I can't actually see the effect it has on you.
Yeah.
So it becomes that thing of I can voice how I'm feeling, but I can only voice how I'm feeling without looking at you. Which
Yeah.
again is why I think some of the stuff he manages to get across to Gwaine, he only does because it's over a radio.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if he was eye to eye making contact with somebody,
He would never have said it. No,
No.
he would never have said it. Like, for sure. Like, he's able to do it because of the radio, for sure.
It's that interesting thing with mental health, and when you are in a very heightened state, I find it with depression a lot. There's often that sort of conversation about depression being a black dog, and I did a very silly little comic a while ago about I feel more like when I'm depressed, I am that black dog, and I am lashing out. And it's, I think one of the most horrific things is having the awareness that you are hurting people and not being able, or not having the capacity or space to be able to do anything about it. Or you know, it's where we talk about like radical responsibility and radical empathy, and sometimes having to be sort of selfish slash, you know, selfish, but without any of the negative connotations. You do have to focus on yourself because you're having this sort of difficulties, but then having that overwhelming guilt when you're there, like, I'm so sorry about what I'm doing to you. I'm so sorry I'm putting you through this. And as you say, I think Dai's part of that journey is learning that that's happening, and that's why this conversation becomes so important between the pair of them, because it's bringing that, it's increasing Dai's awareness as well as his responsibility over his mental health. And that's when it gets sticky and uncomfortable. And I think people then at that point, I don't know, you know, I obviously, we have more of the season to go, but I'm interested to see Dai's relationship with his own psychiatric conditions, because it's so hard. Obviously, that we're in the end of the world and there isn't any therapists around, which is absolutely tragic. But him starting to learn to grow, not just to accept his name, but to accept who he is, and to have that process of taking radical responsibility for his mental health. And I don't know, sorry, I'm just ranting here, but just sort of, it's such a difficult thing because you kick back against it and you don't want to hurt people. And I think there's, you watch people, and I think we see it a lot currently online, is no one wants to think of themselves as being the bad guy, and they want to blame other people, and they want to say, well, it's these, you know, often it's this marginalized group or it's that, because they don't want to do that self-reflection and realize, oh no, actually I did that. And sitting with the pain you cause others is one of the most painful experiences you can have, and I've had it. And that's why this where all of this came from, this comic of seeing myself as this damage and knowing, but then the process of it is, how do I mitigate it? That's when, you know, you get help, and that's when you take responsibility. You say, yes, I'm doing what I need to do in order to protect not just myself, but to protect the people around me too. I just think that it's such a complex and nuanced discussion, and, you know, I love that it's being brought into discussion by things like this podcast. Sorry, just
no. I think it's lovely, and there is something I want to add. I do just want to pause for a moment because I'm aware that this stream doesn't come with content warnings, and I just want to say, like, if anyone is affected by issues with mental illness and things like depression and anxiety, please reach out. Please ask for help. The Samaritans are wonderful. You can call them for free. You can also contact charities like Mind. Just generally, if you want to Google like free mental health services in whatever country you happen to be in, please don't deal with it alone.
If you've got
and
specific, by the way, for
about
gendered intelligence, and there are some trans charities, Mermaids, and also Beat for eating disorders, just in terms of the ones you've got in the UK.
Yeah, and you know, we're talking about like difficult sides of mental illness, but it is important to me that, you know, if you are like experiencing like a low mental health period, whether it's through depression or anxiety or other neurodivergent like issues, like it is not your fault, and you are not causing harm by being ill.
No.
It's, all relationships are complicated, even when people are mentally healthy. And I just want to be really clear about that. Okay, moving on. Yeah,
I'm
so what,
so sorry
sorry.
to do this. Sorry. I'm so sorry. After such a poignant conversation, I just have to go for unrelated
No,
reasons.
it's okay, sweetie.
It's okay.
So
Thank you for coming.
It was wonderful to have you.
thanks for having me.
Have a good night.
Good to see you.
Yeah, no, so talking about thank you for links in the chat. So talking about bipolar disorder, so a big thing for me was that Di has bipolar, and can find meds, but that is very specifically because a big part of like Di, Morgan, and Perry's priority over the last 9 months has been finding meds. They have been raiding pharmacies. They are aware this is an issue, and they have been finding meds. Di got diagnosed with bipolar when he was pretty young, so he has had quite a lot of therapy for it. And where he's at when he gets to uni, and kind of like roughly where he is now with Camlann, is like he is medicated and he is surviving. But like a lot of people with bipolar disorder, he doesn't always love the version of himself that exists on medication. He misses the versions of himself that got the high highs, which he doesn't get on meds. If you want to read more about this, I strongly recommend Kay Redfield Jamison's book, The Unquiet Mind. But like, yeah, in Di's memory, he is a better and more interesting and funnier person when he wasn't medicated. And the medicated version of him is the boring version of him and the kind of watered down version of him. And he takes his meds because he knows he needs to, because he knows like he's had bad experiences in the past, and Morgan has helped him with some of it, and his mum has helped him with some of it, and he had a very loving mum who really supported him. But I think part of the reason that he's at where he's at in the series, and part of the reason that he uses the name Di instead of Merthin, is that like it's kind of reflective of like he feels like he can't be Merthin when he's medicated, even though he needs his meds to live, and to be safe, and he feels like he isn't big enough or special enough or interesting enough, and therefore he is disposable, and therefore it doesn't matter if something bad happens to him. And obviously, like, the really sad thing about that is, as is the case with anyone who loves anyone, but often if you've ever loved or known people with bipolar disorder, is like, he is wonderful. We all love him. He's great. He doesn't need any like special extra elements to him. All of that is there. He just doesn't always see it in himself. And I think that sometimes Morgan's like frustration and grief with Di is that like Di doesn't see that this like healthy, alive version of him is the best version of him, whereas he thinks that the kind of unhealthy and in danger version of him is anyway, sorry, big rant.
Just to kind of move on to something slightly lighter, favorite line in the whole series, hounds, technically. Just
my favorite line in the whole series.
There's another one coming up in episode 9 that I really like, which is like of a very similar tone. Yeah, you know.
I'm desperately trying to remember.
Perry does not have their priorities sorted at any time. Their priorities are never their priorities are always academic accuracy first, survival of life and limb second.
Academic question on Perry. Did Percival become Galahad?
It's in some traditions. So in some traditions you have both of them, and in some traditions Percival becomes Galahad. In the really great Arthurian urban fantasy comic series by Kieran Gillen, Once and Future, which I strongly recommend, they use the Percival Galahad loophole, and it's great actually. I read Once and Future after writing Camlann, but like Once and Future does have a whole thing where like you raise someone and you give them a special story name, and then they get powers from their story, and I was like, hang on. But it's fine. It's like a 5-issue run, whatever. It's great. I love it. It has an old lady and she has a gun. It's fantastic.
As every series should. So many books would be so much quicker if we just gave old lady guns.
just so sincerely.
The elderly. That's such a podcast.
So when I was in New York a couple of weeks ago, we found an old bookshop. Apparently, it's called the Mysterious Bookshop, and they're the oldest bookshop in the world that sells exclusively mystery and thriller books. And it was great, and they had like a pulp stand in the middle, and it had some amazing titles. One of which was "Everybody Had a Gun," and I've been thinking about it ever since. It's
just America.
Yeah. Everybody had a gun.
I will say for discussion of meds, I mean, what I will say is 3 things. First of all, I'm not a doctor, and so there is going to be a little bit of hand waving throughout the podcast. But second, part of the reason that we have a not a doctor nurse in training Gwen is so that longer term Gwen is going to essentially help take over some of helping Di deal with his medication, because also like over time figuring out where the meds are. Like essentially, like someone needs to, and so Gwen is just like
Titrate him onto sodium valproate.
I was going to just Gwen coming in, just Gwen coming in, going, Perry, we need to cook. Like,
but for real, like Gwen is gonna kind of work with Di. But third of all, yeah, like for sure, like I mean, Di also has magic powers. So it's like in as much as we can, like I want it to be like believable-ish. But fundamentally, he does have magic powers. So in this show with magic powers, we might not be as true to life as you might imagine.
In anything that isn't post-apocalyptic, if somebody had any issues with their meds and they're wandering around going, "I'm magic," like, no, okay, maybe we do need to look at
No.
Also, in terms of "I'm not a doctor" was a great line. Once so few medical students would utter. You know what I found really interesting about that actually was I had a British Chinese friend of mine read the scripts for kind of an informal sensitivity read. She didn't want to like be credited formally, but like but one of the things we discussed was that like specifically within Chinese families, like saying that you're a doctor when you're not, like it's just not something that a lot of younger Chinese people would do, especially people studying medicine, because you haven't actually earned it yet. So I think with that, it's more of Gwen being Hong Kong Chinese than it is her being a med student. I changed that line because I was informed that Gwen is like a person who's trying really hard to be the perfect daughter for her dad and get a medical degree and do all the good stuff, would not be able to say that she was a doctor when she was not actually a doctor. Fun fact.
I think we had a.
Can't not read the line. "I'm not a doctor" is not like "I'm not a doctor." I don't know why. I'm just hearing.
No, I always just hear the I'm not that sort of a doctor. I mean, I have a doctorate, but I'm not that kind of. God, Jim, I'm not a doctor.
I love that movie so much.
It's a Treasure Planet reference.
You made a Treasure Planet reference.
That's because it's an amazing film, and I have perpetually I have to fight the urge to cosplay Jim Hawkins because it's in my wheelhouse. And I sing.
Is why I learned to sail. Like,
Yes, good, as you should. And I sing the and I want a moment to be real. That's one of my karaoke songs, or at least it's one of my rep songs. Wanna touch things I don't feel, and it is inherently trans. It is. And can you help me be a man? So it's a great song. If you don't know what we're talking about the underrated film Treasure Planet, which the creators made and they wanted to make, and they literally were like trying to make, and then Disney wanted to make it crash because they didn't like it. But it's a fantastic film, and it's Emma Thompson, isn't it, playing like this amazing starship captain?
Was my bioawakening.
Good, as she should be. And then there's a great line. I think it's referencing Star Trek as well. It's by God, Jim, I'm a doctor, but I'm not that kind of a doctor. I have a PhD, but that's not useful here. It's great. So yes, I always think of that.
It is underrated. There is a whole sect of Disney fans who say that Treasure Planet is a bad film. I mean, they're wrong.
They're wrong.
Like they do say it. It's tragic. No, I love it. It's what was it? Something recently. Oh yeah, we got tagged a lot. The Camlann account on Tumblr got tagged a lot in a lot of Ask memes, and something was like, "What's your gay awakening?" And I realized it was the Kenneth Branagh Much Ado, but specifically it was Denzel Washington and Emma Thompson. I was like the person who wanted like the obscure ship where Pedro and like Beatrice get together instead, because I was just like, he's so handsome. He's so handsome. Why doesn't she get with him? And also she's so pretty.
How have we been talking about bioawakenings but not mentioned the fact that we just said someone looked like they were in The Mummy, which is the bioawakening?
Oh my God,
film.
yeah.
The entire cast
That's
of The
coming
Mummy.
back.
I wore a shirt with braces the other day, and honestly, even I was there like, yeah, no, they were right. This is the way. Why don't we dress like this still?
That's coming back.
So I'll just put Mummy in the chat, and I'm hoping they mean The Mummy rather than
specifically.
Is there anything else? We've got 15 minutes left of the stream. Does anyone have any more questions about episode 7? And to our lovely cast members and darling Amber, is there anything else that we want to talk about regarding episode 7? I mean, Amber is going to be doing a stream about the sound design of Ep 7 and the music. And both are going to be really cool.
With
and I'm
special
excited.
guest. We've got a special
Oh
guest.
yes, with special guest Ollie Morris, who did our wonderful guest sound design. We love Ollie. Check out their shows, The Lightning Bustler and Kanan Fields. Both are wonderful. Lou, just one. Ella, why? Because I wanted to.
Do you want to
any other
say,
questions?
Scruffy Panda Club, thank you very much for the gift sub to Disappearing Ghost.
Ooh.
That's very, very kind of you. And also Luna Wanderer, thank you for resubscribing for 2 months, which happened earlier on, and I missed it because I think we were playing the episode at that point. So thank you very much.
Also, can we get a word about Kay and Knights and Perry still lying about it? Thank you for noticing. Yeah, Perry is such a hypocrite. Perry has not told anyone that Kay and the Knights keep saying they're coming. Like, you know, in I think it's episode 3, where like Perry is like, Di, you need to put out the fire, and Di's like, don't be silly. Like, there's no way the Knights are coming here. And Perry's like, we just need to put it out. And Perry does not take that moment to say, the Knights just called me to say that they are looking for us and trying to come here. And like Di and Morgan are like, it's fine, they're definitely not on their way. And Perry, who knows that the Knights are looking for them, and also knows, as of this episode, I believe Kay's phrase is like, it's like you've sent up a signal flare, you're calling us to you, your distress is telling us where you are. Like, Perry is very specifically telling the Knights where they all are, and yet Perry has not told anyone what they're doing. So Di is not the only person in trouble.
Sending out desperate pack bonds. I don't know. There's
it's essentially like
come to me, my pack.
In my head, that is kind of how the Knights work. Like, because often in Arthurian tales, you'll have one knight in trouble, and then another knight will just so happen to show up. And the way that I've translated that to like the supernatural abilities in Camlann is that like if an Arthurian knight who has like met the others and known each other, and Perry was with the Knights for a long time, is in distress, then they they essentially send out a distress call, like psychically, essentially, I guess magically. And Perry is so upset about Di disappearing that they just turn into a signal flare, magically speaking. And when Kay says like he doesn't want Perry to actually get themselves killed, he means that. Like, he doesn't want to lose Perry. They don't have another Paradeer. They need Paradeer. So like they really think that like Perry is in some kind of danger and they need to get to them as soon as possible. Did anyone ever remember to ask about Ella's trans Babadogi ramblings? They're mostly about Gwydion, to be honest. It's just like, hey, listen, what is that?
So well, apparently we've got a hype train. I've never had a hype train before. Okay. Like,
you have time to earn exclusive emotes.
What?
Sub gifter use bits to get to the next level, I guess, for the next 5 minutes. Hype, apparently. Cool. Karn Green, thank you for subscribing.
For the hype train.
Oh no, stop it!
Is it Go Shafei Uwu over Faye as Rihanna? No, not at all. Please do. I thought Faye did a fantastic job. Actually, Tobias and Robin, you didn't record with Faye, because obviously we recorded Faye.
We recorded with you.
Yeah, so
you were our Rhiannon.
I was. But so what did you think of Faye's performance? Did you enjoy it?
Right.
Be nice. Yeah, okay, great.
Loved it. I've said before, that's
no, do you know what? It was rubbish. It was rubbish.
We're going back to that voice, are we? No.
Good. The impressions are back.
No,
good.
No, we're not doing that. But, I was saying that's who I ship Perry with, is, you know, Queen of the Fairies, because I am, you know, inherently I think that it's a very interesting character, and I think she does Faye, it's they, Faye's is they them, I believe. Or what's Faye's pronouns?
Yeah, Faye use Zizia or they them.
Them. So Zizia. So I just really enjoyed their sort of very ethereal quality of voice, and I enjoyed, obviously, you know, that was a lot of kind of distortion and things over it as well, but no, they had a real calm quality that works very well and otherworldly.
Yeah, I thought he did a really great job. When we were auditioning people for that role, we actually like asked Zia specifically to audition for Rhiannon, because actually Faye got through to the final round for both Perry and Morgan, because Z have a really great voice that can like has a lot of range, and Z did great auditions for both Morgan and Perry, and then like we ended up not casting Zia, but we were like, well, we really still want to cast Zia somewhere. So do you want to play Rhiannon? And you know, Zia Welsh, and love the Mabinogi, and so we were like, great. Whoever plays Rhiannon has to be able to speak Welsh. So the fact that you can speak Welsh is fantastic. You're a great voice actor. Do an audition for us so that we can like do this fairly. And then Z knocked out at the park. And recording with Zia was really fun. It was also really fun because Rhiannon is, again, if we made more Camlann, Rhiannon would I probably can't say that, but Rhiannon is like a very significant character.
Can I just say, it terrifies me that Ella has planned out future seasons. Like, good grief.
We got the hype trains back quicker.
Oh yeah, we're on level 2 now. That's a bit. Thank you so much. Thank you to whoever just gave out 2 community gift subs. That's incredible.
It's back.
Stop it! Stop using the. Stop! Like, I don't know how to turn the sound effects off. Okay, so stop it. I don't know how to turn it off. There's a button here that just says Sanic, and I don't know what it does. I'm not touching it.
I don't know what emojis I'm supposed to use. I'm gonna put a Pikachu in there. Okay. No. But what was I gonna say? With Faye, what was really fun was that like I had to tell Faye a lot of lore that even our main cast don't know. So obviously, our main cast, like Tobias and Robin and Eckhart and Nicole, all know like a lot of like extra Camlann lore that they needed to know in order to perform the series. But there's some stuff that Rhiannon specifically knows that our characters don't know, that wasn't really relevant for me to explain to the gang, but was relevant for me to explain to Faye, so that Z knew kind of where Rhiannon was coming from in that scene with Dai. So yeah, and with the whole team. So it was really fun for me to like have an hour with Faye where like me and Zia basically hung out and were like, oh yeah, and here's all of this stuff about like the world of Camlann and how it all works, and like what Rhiannon knows and doesn't know, and like why she's doing what she's doing. Yeah. Also, like, no, I mean, to be fair, in terms of future seasons, it was just important to me when I started writing Camlann that I knew how it ended, because I wanted it so that like whenever we finish the series, it feels satisfying and like it has a good ending. So I know where the ultimate ending of the story is for all of these characters, and even if we never actually get there, like I know where it is, and it's not endless. Like it is a limited story, that does have its own ending.
I mean, everybody does die eventually. Everyone dies.
I mean, everyone dies.
Everyone does have to die. Everyone meets death eventually, and he speaks to them in capital letters.
I
want to meet Susan.
Death. Would the Knights have less power in Wales than Perry, Morgan, and Dai? Yes, they would. However, it is worth mentioning that at the moment the Knights definitely have power in numbers, which is to say that our gang has 3 people, 4 including Gwen, and the Knights have 900 heavily armed people on horses. And if you know much about medieval history, cavalry, real good against foot soldiers. So
in the 4-year idiots,
unless they have a spear.
Yeah, so thank you. I mean, I think it's important. I'm so heartbroken when I don't when I enjoy a story that doesn't have a satisfying ending, and so it was important to me that it at least was a satisfying ending for me. 900, they're not all knights. Those are they're Arthur's people. Like Kay says that like we have like 900 subjects, I think. So like, you know, there's like a couple dozen like people who actually knights, like maybe half a dozen like who have like knight names, and then a few more who are essentially just dudes who are like being violent, but then like they have subjects. But the thing is that their subjects make their story stronger, because the more people who believe in your story, the more people who know that you are X character, the more powerful you are. So the reason that Arthur wants subjects is so that more people believe he's Arthur, and the more people he rules over, the more powerful he is, because the more he's living in his story. If lots of people knew that Dai was Merthin, he would be even more powerful. But right now, the only person who knows Dai is Merthin is Morgan and himself.
Gather me my spear, children.
Yeah, so apparently we got level 2 hype train.
Ooh.
Thank you, everybody.
Amazing.
That's very, very kind of you. I've given out 5 gift subs to. I've given out 5 gift subs because you've been fantastic tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have emotes that you can use. One of which is of my cat. So there's a Poppy emote. Anyway, but
sorry, that's me making a real.
Also, thank you. I can't remember who posted it in the chat, but thank you whoever pointed out that you can make your own sounds. This is going to be really good for the next stream.
Please don't.
Oh my.
Please don't.
Oil.
Like I don't know how to turn. I don't know how to stop you using them.
Oil.
Like,
my partner has like custom sounds for our private Discord server that we use, and like some of them include like bits from Dragon Age. We've got some Skyrim sounds. It's funky and silly.
I'm gonna find a way to isolate the sound of Amber's cameo in the most recent episode.
Yes.
Just have that as a
I used to be an adventurer like you until I took an arrow to the knee. Sorry, I'm just trying to think of what Dragon Age quotes I can think of other than just Dorian being.
Well,
yeah.
no. See, it's swooping is bad is our one. It's
swooping is bad. Yes.
I'll be honest, I'm probably just going to upload a load of Auntie Donna ones and just have on repeat just a gunshot.
Look, we are all audio people. Can there be an audio of all of you shouting
big pig?
That is always a question on my mind, which is like, wait, if we ever do merch, what is our merch? Maybe our merch is just a mug that says big pig. That's the only piece of merchandise we ever release.
Or big pig, yes.
The big pig, yes. Somebody did point out.
I think it should just be the poll.
Yeah, just the poll. That's what I was thinking.
Screenshot of the poll with the results.
That's niche.
Lantern Man,
niche.
hot or hot?
Yeah. I would love to do like a T-shirt with Lantern Man on it because I just think Lantern Man's real cool.
That would be cool.
He's so fucking creepy.
Just with the quote, "It's the Lantern Man." Like, because I just think that's.
Also, actually, I have a question for the chat. Like, do you think that Camlann is scary? Because when I was writing it, I did not think it was scary, but quite a few people have said to me that they think it's quite scary.
That might be my fault.
Okay. You know what? Yeah. You know what? It's your fault. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Because like when I was writing the scripts, I was like, this is like spooky, but it's not like scary. And then people are like, no, it's really scary, and I'm like, is it?
Oh, but you could do a really cool like Lantern Man like graphic with holding up the lantern and having in like the shadow or like a little night reflection or something, or like sorry, I'm just getting all excited now, or like a long stretch of shadow. I keep wanting to draw. Yeah, I keep wanting to draw each of the characters with their character in their shadow. So like Perry just standing but with a night shadow, or like now I can reveal Di but with like a wizard I keep wanting to do that because I mean you had some really cool ones. Your friend, there's been some amazing fan art.
Yes, my friend.
Yeah, they're gorgeous fan art.
Fatal is fair on Tumblr, and in fact, because she is my close friend, she did read the scripts before we recorded, and so she has like a piece of art of Di that she has just not released on Tumblr, like because she was waiting for this episode.
Trying to see if it would come up on there.
Or stream with drawing, we should definitely check that out. And yes, okay, cool. Yeah, like this all makes sense. Thank you everyone for answering my question. Yes, the sound does make it scarier. I think it's one of those things where it's like because Amber and Ross and I listen to many drafts of the episodes, by the time that we get to the end, it's a little bit wood for the trees where like I'm so focused on like but I feel like this pause needs to be 2 seconds longer that I don't fully appreciate the visceral effect of the sound. But yes, I can completely believe that Amber is scaring us all with sound.
Yes,
look, we're giving them enrichment. And also the more you care about the characters, the scarier it gets. Yeah, like I mean, yeah, like I want you to care about them, and I want you to be upset when they're hurt, like for sure. Like I want you to be really distressed. Mauled by dogs, drowning. I still feel really bad about the drowning thing, Tobias. Sorry.
Had a great time. I wasn't allowed to do it the way I wanted to do it because of the tech.
It's not.
Wait,
not,
what?
you know
What?
Do you not remember when we were doing the drowning bit? I wanted to do it with actual water in my throat. Be like, please no.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
Not near the
a
mic.
safety issue, a
understandable.
safety problem. No, stop.
It was because we didn't want to ruin the mic.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, safety's important, but like that microphone is gorgeous.
This mic is great and everything. Tobias's life is more important.
Hey, it's fine. I don't need the water. Next series, if
I mean,
has a
I'm
scene underwater, we can just.
I
do
mean,
it.
I mean, I
One of them is
It's
insured.
actually, I will say, like, I pretty much.
Don't tell me there's an underwater episode.
Let's
Ella!
go.
I need to make that.
Under the sea, darling, it's better down where it's wetter.
Oh,
Take
it's
it from
underwater
me.
Merlin.
A Merlin
Underwater
maid.
level. Oh,
there's,
what's the
like,
music
I
for the
have-
underwater level in the Zelda game?
Oh, the water
No.
temple.
Water
The
Temple.
water
No,
All
we're
my
not going to
brain's hearing
We're not going to waterboard
is-
the actors.
He told you we care about their well-being. We're not
Whoa.
waterboarding the actors.
And
gosh.
yeah, I mean, I was saying I enjoy the commitment to the bit that Tobias is in a cave today. This is your cave.
Well, so that's the thing. I figured out 2 of the monsters if we made another series. It's a problem. I'm just thinking a lot about Camlann right now, but I've got a couple of the scenes in my head. There's some really upsetting ones, but I'm excited. I think it's gonna be fun. I really want it. So there's a. So and the 15th of January 1924, the first drama written for radio was released called Danger, and it was about a disaster in a Welsh mine. It was based on real events, and the Radio Times told people to turn off the lights in their living rooms so that they could be fully immersed in the drama, which is set with these like people stuck in this mine waiting to be rescued. And I've got one idea for an episode which will not be underwater, but maybe underground, and we'll have like essentially 2 characters stuck in a small space just in the dark having a conversation that they have been trying to avoid, but now they're stuck in the dark underground. So
Will there be poison?
Secret tunnel.
secret tunnel.
tunnel.
secret
Poison
tunnel.
sockets? Could
the
there be
poison-
poison sockets? Is that a reference no one understands?
No.
Long story short, it's a really old Peter Seraphinovic sketch where it's just like, you've turned off the light, but you forgot to turn off the poison socket. Contain poison.
Well, no, like I mean, actually, so like Perry refers to them in episode 7. But the best underground fairies in all of folklore are knockers, are colonai. Which are friendly. Sorry, I'm knocking a lot on my table because that's
Just call them knockers.
They are called
That's what I
knockers,
thought
I'm
you said.
afraid.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because so in the English they're called knockers because they knock. In Welsh they're Camlann, but they are friendly fey spirits, which like the folklore says, like they are friendly fey spirits which will knock on the walls of the mine if it's gonna collapse, so that you have to escape. Wow.
Sorry. I'm okay. I'm fine.
Also, all this talk
Big,
about
heavy knockers.
big heavy knockers.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
Cool.
all this talk about the actors, it's just like the producer. I mean, I'm making lots of musical theatre references. It's the actors aren't animals. Do you ever eat with one? And that's sort of what I keep thinking. There's so little of the producers I can quote safely without being taken out of context.
But no, like but yes, like Lou says, it's really cool and it's really interesting. That like lots of these things are based on natural phenomena. So like in this case, like Camlann is like because you would actually have pockets of gas. So if you hear knocking, you should immediately leave the tunnel you're in because it means that like there's a structural integrity flaw. But like there is this lovely thing that then became like miners genuinely believing that there were these little like fey creatures, friendly spirits, which would tell them when they needed to get out. Also connected to stuff like the Pokemon Sableye, which is loosely based on this folklore too. But what's kind of fun about that is that like it means that you can, for example, write an audio story where people stuck underground and then they start hearing knocking and they know that means that the tunnels they're in are about to collapse, but also if they can't get out, then just hear knocking until you die.
To quote, well, there's a problem. I would simply not go in the cave.
Yes.
I do think in real life, I do think no one should go caving. Like it's fucking dangerous. We're not made to go underground or go underground. Jesus Christ,
No.
it's so dangerous. Like
You know what you
fuck.
really shouldn't do? Cave dive, the water cave,
Oh,
wet
no.
caves.
no,
I-
Don't do
hey,
wet caves.
Listen, no, that
Wet
is
cave.
Don't do
so
wet cave.
dangerous.
Stay
It
away
is
from
Don't
the wet
do wet
cave.
cave.
It is. Do you know it is the most dangerous extreme sport in the world? Indeed, the entire premise of podcast The Grotto. The podcast The Grotto rules, by the way.
Oh, is this the one? Yeah.
I've been caving in one of the caves from BBC Melon. That's so cool. I imagine that was in Wales because they pretty much filmed all of that in Wales, right? Yeah. No, I mean even dry caves. Be careful. Maybe
Yeah,
just
that's
steer away.
my
Just
from
don't
caves.
go in
partner.
caves.
They loved caving, and they tried to get me to go caving, and I was like, I'm claustrophobic. I ain't going anywhere near a hole.
I am also claustrophobic, and yeah, no,
I'm not
absolutely.
playing the noise
knew.
again.
I knew I went in.
I realised
were
the
waiting
sentence
for
I
it.
said and was waiting for the sound effect. I was like,
Isn't there a whole League of Gentlemen Mark Gatiss sketch where he's talking about all the children who died in a cave? I don't know. I'm just remembering him just sort of very deadpan.
The BBC Merlin Castle. The BBC Merlin Castle was filmed in France, but most of the kind of outdoor stuff was done in Wales. So, like a lot of the landscapes and forests and stuff that was in Wales. And yeah, you went caving in Wales. Great, amazing. It's listen. There's a great book called Underland by Robert McFarlane, which is all about like the history of caving, and you can read that book, and then you can understand why you shouldn't go caving. And all you really
just don't go in the caves. It's just like it's 2 pages. One page is there are caves, and the second page is don't go in them. Like, it's just, that's all you need to know.
Look, listen. I agree. Caves are really, really cool. I completely agree with that. They are not made for people to survive in. Like, okay? And I am resisting talking about all the horror stories I know about caving because I don't think that they're appropriate for this stream.
No.
And I would need to give you a content warning, but good lord.
The rocks are calling us. They call us.
The children yearn for the caves.
The children yearn for the caves.
Into the caves with us.
Although I will admit that I recently was in Prague. I was at the Bohemia National Park, where they did the filming of the Chronicles of Narnia: Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, and there are these sandstone kind of like rocks there, and a bunch of bandits made like hideouts between the caves in like the 1600s near where this like massive castle is on this huge sandstone arch. It was very cool, but that was better because it wasn't underground. You can die so easily in a cave. You can. It is so easy to die in caves. It is more dangerous than like bungee jumping. It is more dangerous than parachuting. It is more dangerous than mountain climbing. Literally, caving is the most dangerous extreme sport in the world. Please don't just go caving. If you're gonna go caving, go responsibly and safely with someone else. And as a rule, you just don't need to. You don't need to do that. You can go to a public cave that's massive, that has railings, that is easy to exit, but do not fucking go in a small cave, okay?
Can we have that on a t-shirt? Just the sentence, "You can die in a cave."
Okay, I think we have gone off piste a little
Reached
bit.
the end.
Yeah.
We could tell bandit made caves. A part of my brain just went, Bluey's sister? And I don't even watch Bluey. I'm just aware of the existence of Bandit because it's a great name. I don't even know. Oh no, it's Bingo, isn't it? Bandit's someone else.
Before we use it as a proper noun, like bandit is a word in the English language.
I know, but my brain, because I teach children and we were talking about Bluey and they were like Bandit, and I know that it's like 10 p.m. at night because I'm here going, Bluey.
I misread the quote then, and I heard Bluey, and I thought of Blue's
Oh,
Clues.
Bandit's
That's why I made that
Bandit's
noise.
the dad. There we go. I don't know. Like I said, I don't watch it. Thank you, Beck Glime.
Caves are beautiful and very cool, but also so dangerous and scary. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed episode 7.
Yes.
We should go now.
Under the hill, which is actually remarkably
Like
similar to a cave. You're just telling me don't go into caves because the Fae will.
I will
trick
say
you.
the end of this episode is very much someone being very angry about someone going under a hill because he shouldn't have done that. Like, I will say the moral of the episode is not to go under hills. The moral of the episode is don't do that shit. The moral of the episode is like, that's dangerous. You don't
Shouldn't
do
have done
that.
that, lad. Shouldn't have done that.
Anyway.
Ugh.
Okay.
So what happens when you teach me how to do a northern accent, Tobias? It's not gonna
If you
stop
go
now.
in a cave, you will see Faye Roberts.
You go in a cave. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
AI's in
I would see
caves.
Zara in a
You need to
cave.
print out and put a picture of Zira on every cave in the UK.
No, that involves going in the caves. Don't do that.
No, we can hire bandits. We can send bandits into the caves. It's fine.
You're gonna send dog.
No, we could use a really long stick.
What I've designed here is a cave implement. It's a really long stick.
And on the end is a picture of some voice
I'm gonna pop it in a cave.
Okay, what we've learned is that the four of us are the most chaotic combination of Camlann people. This troop needs to end. Hi, I'm Ella Watts. I'm always Ella Watts. I was gonna say I've been Ella Watts, but I will continue to be Ella Watts. Probably. My pronouns are she, her. Probably continue to be.
Never say never.
Yeah, no, exactly. I never would. I made Camlann. If you want to check out other shit I've done, I don't know, download ZRX. It's a free app. I know it sounds really fancy and like we've got loads of money, but we genuinely don't, and I would love it if you would check it out. It's a free app. It's got loads of audio dramas on there. There's some stuff that's like Zombies Run, which is like a zombie apocalypse thing, and then there's another thing called Marvel Move, which is just a bunch of different Marvel audio dramas. We paid Marvel to make that. They did not pay us. I would love it if you checked out our audio dramas. They're really great, and I wish that more people would listen to them. Okay, Tobias, where can we find you? What you doing?
You can find me on at T Weatherburn on Twitter. I think I remembered it right this time. Capital T, capital W. On Instagram at Tobias_Weatherburn. Yeah, that in the chat. What am I doing? In a cave. For reference, this is my recording booth at home. I changed setting for this one because I thought it would be fun, and it is like a cave, which feels weird and claustrophobic now I've mentioned it. So I'm just going to pull this to the side. No, I am in a game that is coming out in a couple of weeks called Euden Chronicles: 100 Heroes, doing the English dub for a character called Eno, and 9 other characters in it, but Eno is the main one. What else? I'm in a podcast drama that's coming out in a month or two called The Field, which is being released in a way where not everyone will hear it in the same format or in the same order.
Okay.
So it's about this sort of sci-fi fantasy thing, and something happens, and you hear it in different segments and fractures, and it's interesting.
That's so cool.
With that company, I'm hopefully making a podcast, so keep an eye on socials for that. I'm also recording. No, I can't talk about that.
I mean, you've done a bunch. You've done a good job. We'll check this stuff out.
I'm a wizard.
And you're a wizard. You're a wizard. Hey, Robin, where can we find you on the internet?
Hi, I'm Robin Holdaway. Most places, my favorite review is, "Oh, you're that guy who reviews binders." I'm like, "Yeah, I do review them." So I do lots of stuff on TikTok, making trans educational content and stuff like that. Come see me there. I'm in some of the zombies. I always forget this. I'm in occasional zombie stuff. So I did the Blitz stuff. I'm also, I think. Oh no, I can't say it. I do appear as somebody in one of the races, Sky, right? Oh, and what's the other one? I do the bellhop one. Can't remember the name.
Oh, Hotel Hijinks.
Hotel Hijinks. There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, they're all very good fun. So yes, do. I'm in some of those, and those are good fun. Yeah, as I said, narrate audiobooks. There's a few out that you can have a listen to. I also teach. I don't always say this, but I'm a teacher. I'm based in Cambridge, but I generally tend to do Zoom sessions for any aspiring actors or voice actors, things like that. I tend to do masterclasses, stuff like that, and drama school audition prep. Do I do anything else, team? Is there anything else in my life?
I mean, you're in the show called Camlann.
I am in the show called Camlann. Oh yeah, Karen's not here. So I'm in the show called Camlann. It's very good. You should listen to it. I enjoy it. I don't get to do any of these sillier voices. I just do my own voice, but a little bit More nerdy. There we go.
If we make more, I'll find a way to write something to let you do silly voices.
Thank you.
And at long last, I shall surrender the reins of the stream back to our lovely Amber.
Hello, I am Amber. I live here. We normally stream every Monday and Wednesday, but this week we're only going to be streaming today. There's no stream on Wednesday because there's just a lot going on this week, and I don't have the time to do another one. But we'll be back next week with another stream where I'll be opening up the project file for episode 7, and I'll be joined by our fabulous guest sound designer for episode 7, Oliver Morris. I do live in the streams, not different from Caves, but we're going to be joined by Oliver Morris, who sent me their project file. Sent me the project file for all the scenes they did. So we're gonna properly open it up, and we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna go through all the marvelous, amazing sounds that Ollie came up with for Camlann, including a genuine, actual hunting horn that they found that they just had in their home, which is incredible to me, and I'm excited to talk to them about it. Otherwise, I don't really have anything to plug right now because there's a couple of upcoming things that haven't been announced yet that I can't talk about, but they're really exciting and they're really cool. Otherwise, I'm making Camlann. We're nearly finished. We're nearly finished with Camlann. Can you believe? Can you believe we're nearly finished with Camlann? Was that a cat? Oh, that's a cat.
Yeah, she's very grumpy and she wanted to be noticed. You might be able to hear her. She's grumpy because she's demanding food.
Oh.
And now release me.
Yeah.
Look how fluffy she is.
She's
Look how small and fluffy.
Oh, she's got such a nice
anyway,
meow.
Please continue.
Oh, okay, right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Oh, Ella, I think you've gone on mute for some reason.
Oh wait, no, here we go. I'm here. Sorry, this is a good point. Just a reminder for everyone that there are only 2 episodes left of Camlann. It is a 9-episode series. We are getting towards our finale. We are a month away from the end of the show. So if you are not caught up, if you have a friend who isn't caught up, suggest encouraging them to catch up now if they want to catch up before the end of the series. I know we're so close to the end. This is the final act of the series, and then we'll be at the end. I assume they're booing because they're sad it's ending, because they just hate
They're saying who earns? Saying that like fires burn on.
I'm gonna interpret this as a good thing. But anyway, so just be aware of that. I think that it's I don't know, we mentioned in January that this was a 9-part series, but we haven't kind of repeated it, so just so you know, there's only 2 episodes left. We're near the end of the series. We would love to make more episodes. If you would like us to make more episodes, please consider donating to our Ko-fi or Patreon. And if that is not doable for you, please tell a friend about the show. Genuinely, word of mouth means a lot, and for us, being able to use download figures and stuff when we make grant funding applications for making more and paying our actors is really, really helpful. So the more people listening to the show and talking about it and reviewing it, the more likely we are to be able to make more. And also, like we say at the end of every episode, we have a Ko-fi and Patreon. It exists purely for Camlann related stuff. So if we wanted to put on a live show, we would use money from those. If we were going to do merchandise, we would use money from those. If those are things you want us to do, please consider chucking a bit of cash our way. But yeah, in the meantime, if you don't have money to give us, that's okay. Genuinely just tell people to listen to the show. Please just recommend it to a friend. That's really, really helpful.
Yeah.
And I'll send you pictures of my cat in recompense. He's very fluffy.
Making a cat photo-based economy.
Yes, as we should.
Only cats exist, surely.
Catlann? Is that a thing? Catlann?
Oh, that explains.
No, that's a region of Spain. Nice.
We're all cat people. We all have cats. That makes sense. That makes this make so much more sense. This entire chaotic nature of this stream.
Yeah, it does actually make a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for coming along. I hope that this was fun for you. It was fun for us. And we will see you next week. And then we'll have more episodes for you soon. Good night.
Yeah.
I knew